For the past 14 years, I've been creating full-time income with my music. And in this video, I want to lift the veil and let you know exactly what it's like to have your music become your full-time job. It has some wonderful perks and benefits to it, but there are certainly a lot of real challenges that you need to be aware of. So let's go ahead and get started. My name is Jesse and welcome to my YouTube channel, Sync My Music, where I exclusively talk about TV film sync licensing. This is the avenue that I was able to create full-time income for myself starting all the way back in 2008, and it's still possible for new producers and new composers today. So if you're interested in getting involved with that or just learning more about how I did it and maybe how you can do it as well, stay tuned to the end of this video because I have a free course that I'd like to invite you to sign up for and get started with right away. But without further ado, let me give you the top 5 considerations you need to be aware of before committing months or maybe years of your life to turn your music into your job. Number 1, I have not gotten rich off of making music my full-time job, okay? Now, I'm not poor. I'm not scraping just to pay my bills week to week or month to month or anything like that. So I'm definitely comfortable. I've done well for myself, but I am not a multi-millionaire from my music. So I want to make sure you guys are clear on that is a very rare thing that happens to a very small number of producers and composers. It's definitely possible, especially in the TV film licensing world, but a lot of times that comes down to having the right placement at the right time with the right client. And usually that's going to be a theme placement or a jingle placement. So I actually haven't received any of those yet. I'm still hoping one of these days I get one of those. But aside from those massive, huge 6-figure sync fees and royalty checks that can come through, I've done really well with the music and the time that I've put into this business. So I want to make sure that you guys are aware of that money is important. Of course, it's important to me. Paying my bills is very, very important, but money is not the top consideration for my career. The top consideration for me and the first way that I get paid actually in this business is through the joy and the craft and the love of just creating music. That is actually always my first paycheck. The money, sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not so good. But if you're not loving what you're doing, whatever you decide to do, then you're not doing what you should be doing, okay? So if you're not having fun with your craft, there's still gonna be challenges with it, and there's still gonna be those days where you don't feel like creating, but if you're not having some kind of fun and joy and being stimulated by the challenge of creating music, then you need to refocus your life, because doing it just for the money will not push you through those moments of doubt and not wanting to make music. Trust me on that. It does not get you through those moments. Number 2, making music your full-time job is pretty much just like any other job you'd ever have, okay? This might be a big bummer for a lot of you guys. Your day jobs that you don't really like because, some days you just don't feel like going. You're not happy with the political games that get played in the office. You feel bored sometimes, or a lot of the time. You feel stagnated. You feel like you're not being challenged. You feel like you're not being given a fair chance. All of those emotions that we might assume are only in the day job world are right front and center in your sync licensing career or in your music career and any way you want to go into. There are definitely going to be days where you don't feel like working. That might sound like crazy to you right now. You're like, no, I'll just wake up every day and be happy to make music. That's wrong. That is incorrect. You will have days where you do not want to make music. You will have days where you feel defeated, you feel bored, you feel unchallenged, you feel like you're not being given a fair shot by the libraries or something that you're working with, or you've been rejected for the 5th time that week and your ego just can't take anymore and you feel like literally closing up your DAW, throwing your computer out of the window and calling it quits. That is in your future. There is just no way around that. We live on planet Earth. We work with other human beings. So therefore, BS and drama and political games are a part of our daily life. And so I want to dispel any sort of a myth or a notion you might think that you will be able to get away from the BS as long as music is your full-time job. Nope. It's sitting there waiting for you. It's been a part of my career for the last 14 years. Now, the hopeful message, though, is that even though it is very challenging to go through all that kind of stuff, the thing that helps you get through it is that you still have this knowledge and this wisdom of knowing that you're doing what you love. So you might be suffering through something momentarily, a bad day, a rejection, a feeling bored, a not feeling inspired. But underneath all that, you have this now fire in your belly that says, but I'm making music my full-time job, or at least I'm on a path to do that and I'm committed to make that happen. Therefore, this little bit of discomfort or having a bad day or a bad week or a bad month, that's peanuts compared to what the bigger goal is here. Sometimes that's really hard to get in a day job that you just don't care about, right? If you're just going to the job to get paid and you have a bad week, a bad day, a bad month, whatever it is, and you really don't have that underbelly of, or that feeling underneath it all of like, but I really love this and I love where it's going to bring me. If you don't have that, it's really hard to see through just the nonsense that you have to go through. But when music is your full-time job, you do have something that can push you through those moments of doubt. So that's the good news of it. Number 3, and this is one of the perks, it is a really cool conversation piece. I have to be honest, it is definitely one of the guilty pleasures that I've indulged in throughout the 14 years I've done this. Anytime I meet somebody new or even just go to the doctor's office and just chit-chatting with people, they always ask, what do you do for a living? And I tell them, I make music for TV shows, movies, and commercials. And their eyes light up and they're like, wow, that's really cool. It's a really great conversation piece, and it actually can open up doors into new relationships and new conversations and new business opportunities that might not be available if you gave them, a not so whatever unusual answer. Okay. So I'm going to be honest. It's one of the best perks of doing music full time is you get to sort of show it off a little bit to the people that you meet. And of course, to your friends and family and bandmates and everybody else that you come in contact with. So that's actually one of the coolest perks about this is it actually opens up doors socially that I feel like I probably wouldn't have been able to open up if I had a sort of like more standard routine. I'm an accountant. I'm a this, I'm a that, I think it's just such an unusual thing to come across somebody who does music full time that it's just, people can't help but ask you follow-up questions and want to learn more about it. So that's really cool. Number 4, if music is going to be your full-time job, you better have a really strong hold on your ego, meaning you better be able to dial that sucker up when you need to have a strong ego, mostly is when you're in the creation process of creating your music. And most importantly, you better be able to dial that sucker down when you're interacting with your clients or your customers or whoever it is that you're trying to serve your music with. So I know that as producers, as artists, we really do get sucked into our own ego very easily because in the creation process, we're always thinking, I think this is a good thing, this is how we use our ego properly, is we think that our music is amazing and it's great, and it's going to do so well, and we're so pumped up and high on our own supply. And that's exactly the mindset you should have when you're creating music. But the trick is to turn that thing down when it doesn't need to be going off in all cylinders. So when you're interacting with a music library or a publisher or somebody that you need to be serving their needs, you better be able to quiet that a little bit and become more of a humble servant and say, hey, I've got some great music. How can I help you? How can I make your life easier? How can I make your clients' lives easier? The better you can control that ego, the more placements you'll get, the more income you'll get, the more success you'll have in the long run. This is one of those things that a lot of producers, artists, musicians have a tough time doing, is turning that ego off when it needs to get turned off. So that's definitely something I have learned. And of course, getting rejected always burns the ego. So you just have to learn to develop a little bit of a thick skin. It's not like it never hurts. I think that thick skin analogy, people think, if I develop a thick skin, rejection will never hurt. No, I think rejection still, at least for me, it always hurts anytime, even now 14 years in the business. But what I've learned is not to personalize it. Like it still stings, it still hurts. I didn't get the gig, I didn't get accepted, whatever it was. But I know that that is not going to kill my career. It's a one-time loss. It's a tiny little L that I do have to mark down to say that one didn't work out for me. But what can I learn? How can I get better? How can I get stronger? So you basically have to learn how to bounce back from those moments of rejection, okay? And last but definitely not least, it requires a lot of social life sacrifice if you want to make music your full-time job. There's no way around it, okay? You cannot just here and there, every other weekend, give it a couple of hours and, I still like going to the bars. I still like going on these camping trips. I still like doing all this stuff socially. And then when I get a couple of hours every few weeks, I'm going to squeeze in a sync licensing career. You guys are probably laughing already because that just does not work. It's not how it is. This has to become your sort of new religion in a way. You do have to, when you get off work, go right home, squeeze in an hour or two if you can. If you can't do that, you better be waking up at 4, 5 a.m. in the morning, getting a couple of hours when the whole house is hopefully still asleep, cranking out some high quality music, working on your skills at that point. Weekends, this is it. Okay, there's not a lot of hanging out, not a lot of traveling, not a lot of any of that. Well, now with gas prices so high, maybe that's not a big deal. But I sacrificed a lot socially to get to where I am now, to do music full time. So some of that I feel was worth it. Others that some things, birthdays, family birthdays that I missed out on wasn't really worth it actually. And some of those I regret and I wish I didn't do it. So you got to pick your battles wisely, but there is going to be sacrifice. So you do have to make sure, is your music being your full-time job more important than a lot of social bonds that maybe you have right now? Because they will suffer. And they will suffer for a long time. Some of them might break, where you just lose those friendships and those relationships. I certainly did because of me, not because of them, because I pulled away because this was really, really important and it required a lot of my time and attention. So for me, it was worth it in the long run. For others, might not be. And that's not for me to decide. That's for you to figure out for yourself and for your own social life. So with those 5, I would like you guys to be just fully aware, at least of my experience, of what music being my full-time day job has felt like. It's very much worth it. It's been very, very rewarding, but it is not easy. And that's basically the theme of what I want to present to you with my free sync starter course. So if you're interested in getting involved in TV film sync licensing, I want you to know that this free course is not hype. It's not going to get you all excited about some amazing, huge income and it's coming to you really quickly and all you got to do is X, Y, and Z. It's consistency. It takes time. In fact, I'll tell you, it's about a 2 to 5 year timeline before you see significant income. So do not even click on that link below if you're not willing to commit a few years into this business. You definitely will learn in this free course whether or not this is going to be a good fit for you and your personality, because it's not a good fit for all producers and artists and musicians. So I will walk you through the ins and outs of this industry, and I will let you know what kind of realistic income you can expect if you really give a good go at this. I will show you how to find those music libraries that you can partner with so that you can start getting your first contract and getting those first placements. And I'm gonna give you the top 5 mistakes for why I feel most producers bail out of this business way too early. So they probably had great music, they probably had a great trajectory, but they committed one of these 5 mistakes, and that's why they bail out way too soon before they see the results. And it sucks. I hate seeing that, but it is a very, very common story. So if you watch this free course below, you will be aware of that and you will not fall, hopefully, into those 5 mistakes. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. Please leave a like if you did. And of course, if you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button. I put out new videos like this every single week, and introduce yourself in the comments. I'd love to get to know you, who you are, what you're all about, and how you feel sync licensing might fit into your future career.